Hi, I'm Hersha, and I'm going to teach you what is pi. Sure, pi is a celebrity number which equals 3.14159, and so on. That goes on forever in decimals. It's named after food, and that is super important because it has something to do with circles. It even has its own day. It's on March the 14th. All the other numbers are probably very jealous. But seriously, pi is important because it can calculate anything to do with circles. Do you have a sphere and want to know its volume? Slap some pi on it and there you go. You know everything. I mean, not literally, but it is still important. So, what is pi? Well, before we do that, here are some interesting and noteworthy patterns. Pattern number 1. Here is a beautiful square and a beautiful circle. Let's find their circumferences and perimeters. Square, easy. Just multiply one side by 4. Circle, still easy. Just double the radius or find the diameter in the first place, and then multiply by pi. Now, let's look closely into this. You're basically finding the diameter of both shapes, and for the square, you multiply by 4, while with the circle, you multiply by pi. So it's a ratio. Rule of pi. When you put a square around a circle and measure their circumferences and perimeters, you get the ratio pi to 4. Pattern 2. Here are our beautiful shapes. Let's find their areas. Circle's area, we just get the radius, square it, and then multiply by pi. Square's area, we just square one side. Now, let's look at this in terms of radius. For the square, we find the radius, square it, and then multiply it by 4. For the circle, we find the radius, square it, and multiply by pi. So again, in one situation, you multiply by 4, in another, you multiply by pi. So there's another rule of pi. When you put a square around a circle and measure their areas, you get the ratio pi to 4. Enough stalling. Now what is pi? Okay, now I'll teach you how you can solve pi. Now, the basic rule is circumference divided by the diameter equals pi. But usually when you get a circle and try to measure the circumference and then divide by the diameter, you are wrong and inaccurate because measuring a circle is hard and humans are clumsy and make mistakes. So we don't do that. And pi doesn't tolerate mistakes. Pi must be accurate to the 100th decimal. To solve pi accurately, you need to know trigonometry. Now, I don't want to give a hour-long lecture about trigonometry, but put basically, right triangles have rules. If you know two things about a right triangle, there's only one option it can be. Every right triangle is bound by these rules. Stuff like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, etc. Now, let's solve pi. Here is our hexagon in a circle. The diameter is 2, radius 1. I break the hexagon into 6 triangles. Then I get each of these triangles and they break them into 2 right triangles. We will only need to focus on one of these triangles. Now, our goal is to find the circumference of the shape, and by finding angle A, we will find 1/12 of the whole shape. So, we know two things about this right triangle. The length of one side is 1, and the angle of one angle is 30 degrees. These are the only two things we need to know, and we know them. Now, we want to find this angle A. So, we need to know one rule of right triangles, the sine. This is the ratio between side A and side B. The ratio varies depending on angle A. Each angle has its own sine ratio. For 30, it's 1 to 0.5. Now that you know the ratio, B to A is equivalent to 1 to 0.5. And since we know B is already 1, now we know what A is, 0.5. So B equals 1 and A equals 0.5. Yay! Now that we know what A is, we can use this. But let's remember this. This is only 1/12 of the circumference. So we multiply 0.5 times 12 and we get 6, our circumference. And remember, to get pi, we must divide circumference by diameter. So let's do that. Circumference equals 6, diameter equals 2, and pi equals 3. That might seem nothing like pi, but again, a hexagon is nothing like a circle, and pi is nothing like 3. The more sides you have, though, the more closer it becomes to pi. So, to simplify everything, here's everything I did into a formula. S is the number of sides. You give it the sides, it finds the angle, then this part finds the length of one edge using the sine ratio, and then since it's only a tiny part of the circumference, it multiplies it back. The diameter divides and finds pi. Now let's simplify this formula. First, we replace d with 2r because it's the same thing and this will help us later on. Second, since there's two 2's, one on top and one on bottom, we can just ditch them all together. Third, this formula is set up so that r equals 1. And when you divide something by 1, you don't change the value. So we can ditch that out. Now here's our simplified formula. This formula gets closer and closer to pi depending on how greater of a number s is. Once you get to a 96 gon, you get the number 3.14103 and on and on. Fun fact, you cannot pronounce its name. Thanks for watching and happy Pi Day.